Hello and welcome to the Underneath the Hat podcast. I am your host, author, podcaster, educator, Cherise Simmons. And I'm so happy and grateful you are joining me this week for an episode in our series, Blessings and Lessons. So I am excited to share this news with you. And so I am being obedient to God for our topic today because um last week I got to have a conversation with one of my best friends, Melinda Young, and we talked about blessings and lessons. And I said that instead of setting a New Year's resolution, I do goals. And I try to set my goals quarterly as far as um, being very smart about them. And as an educator with CPS, we take the word smart and make it into an acronym. So SMART goal. So smart, S is for what is the S? S is for specific. So make your goals specific. M is for measurable. Make sure it is something that you can put um, a time on, something that can be done in a reasonable amount of time, that you can measure that it's actually been effective and successful. A is attainable, something that actually can be done in the amount of time that you're giving it to be done. Don't try to do a marathon and only give yourself a month to plan. R is for realistic. If you know you've been eating out of brown paper bags for a year and then you decide you want to run the marathon and it's coming up in 2 months, probably not something that's going to happen. And then T, time frame. So letting yourself know when you are expecting for it to be completed. So I decided to set goals. And I've actually been doing this the last 2 or 3 years where I create this board and I have it split into the 4 seasons. And I take post-it notes and write down different things, goals that I have for myself. And I realistically put them in the quarter or in the season that I think I'll be able to accomplish it. And if every couple of months I go and revisit the board, and if I haven't done something in the summer that I was supposed to do, I can move it to the fall or the winter. Because things happen, life happens, either financially, emotionally, mentally, personally, physically. We can't do something we had planned for in January for July. And so we have to be able to pivot. That was my theme for last year, pivot. And so you could just take that post-it and move it to where you need to move it, even if it's for the next year. And then at the end of the year, I evaluate all that I've done and I put a check mark on top of the post-it of everything I was able to accomplish. And I remove those things from my board. And it's good to see the success that I've had in setting goals and sticking to them by coming up with this idea. Because those things that I didn't get to do, I then get to look at them and say, is it something that I really wanted to do, should have been doing? If it is, it goes into the new year on a new board. If it's something that wasn't realistic, then I decide it's not something I'm going to focus on. And so it feels good to be able to know that about 80% of the things that I have set out to do every year, I've actually accomplished. Whereas with a resolution, it seems as though every time we set one, we end up breaking it within the first 1 or 2 months. So I give you a challenge to go ahead and try the 4-quarter board with your post-it notes and see what happens. So as I stated before, my theme for last year was pivot. Being able to move, my goal never changed. I just had to pivot. I had to move around, change my direction, had to do a detour in some places, but I still ended up at my goal. And so this year's theme God gave me listen and trust. Listen and trust. And I can say that he has already on the 9th of January that I am recording this, and on what's today? The 9th. And on the 15th, when you all will see this, I have been tested in this theme already. And I decided to share with you today the one time I have had to listen and trust. And so it occurred when I was preparing for my Young Ladies at All Times mentoring program. Check us out on Facebook, Young Ladies at All Times. We also have a website, youngladiesataltimes.com. And I had to listen and trust God just this week. We have been preparing for our 5th year anniversary. I had a theme, I had a color scheme, I had my vendors, my DJ, my caterer, even when one caterer couldn't do it because the venue changed. And the date that they were willing to give us conflicted with something that they already had planned. I was able to find another caterer. I had a photographer. I had my decorator. I was ready. I had my awards planned because we were going to do like an Academy Award type thing at the luncheon. I had my hostess. I had my guest speaker. Everything was planned. And the first thing happened, we had to change venue. So the one place we thought we would be able to use wasn't allowing people to come in due to COVID and its cousins, Delta and Omicron. And so God said, okay, try this place. Tried this place and was excited because we were able to get it. And it was actually my dream place of going to have it, because I had been to an event at this location, the Dan Ryan Brewers Pavilion. And so we were able to get it. And because we're a 501c3 organization now, which was another journey of me listening and trusting him, finally getting my 501c3 done after having it sit for 4 years. It sat because I was afraid of all the responsibility that came with it, and I didn't think I could do it. And so I talked myself out of mailing it off, even though it had been professionally done by attorneys. It sat for 4 years, and I finally did it. Ended up paying less than I thought I was going to have to pay to get it processed, and it came back sooner than I thought it would. And because of that 501c3, we were able to get my dream location for half the price. Praise God. Listen and trust. And so got the location, and then 2 weeks later, after paying a deposit, we get an email this week saying that due to the new COVID restrictions, we have to check everyone's vaccination card when they come in if they're 16 years or older, because we're serving food. I'm like, really, Lord? Like, I don't like asking people for much, okay? Because I don't like people asking me for nothing. So the fact that I was charging a fee was something I had to get over. And then now you want me to check the people's cards like we bouncers at a club with their ID. I was like, it's too much. It's too much. So God was like, okay, I need you to listen and trust me. I'm like, oh, I don't like where this is going. Okay. And so I had a meeting scheduled with my board of directors yesterday on the 8th, that morning. And so I was like, okay, Lord, I'm going to listen and I'm going to trust. Whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to move. When you move, I move. Just like that. In my ludicrous voice. And so at 1:39 Saturday morning, 8 hours before I was scheduled to meet with my board of directors, he woke me up, and I grabbed my phone. I grabbed my notepad in my phone and started typing out all this stuff to do virtually. Now, if anybody knows me, I don't play about my sleep, my money, and my food. And if I am waking up out my sleep, it needs to be for a good reason. And God woke me up and had me texting and type. I don't even remember half the stuff that I was putting on his phone. But when I woke up fully and read back what it was, all of the stuff that I had written down or typed were the ideas to push us towards going virtual for our 5th year anniversary. So instead of it being in person, it could still happen on the date that I want it, which is the actual 5th anniversary of Young Ladies at All Times, February 12th. We're going live virtually on our Facebook page, Young Ladies at All Times, at 11 a.m. We're still going to give away our awards. I spoke to everyone that was going to be honored, and I gave them instructions on how to create an acceptance speech video. Send it to me so that I can go through StreamYard and play the video during the live virtual celebration so everyone can hear them accept their speeches. I ordered the awards, and I'm going to deliver them to them so they can actually have the award in their hand when they're giving their speech. And my hostess is still on board. I'm still waiting to hear back from some other people, but it can still work out because I listened and I trusted. It may not have been the way I wanted it to, but it's a way that's going to make sure everybody's safe. And the best part about it was when I reached out to one of the parents to let her know that she was going to be honored, she cried. She cried because, and I don't know the full reason, but I get from what she was telling me through the text messenger, I could feel that it made her feel appreciated, which was probably something that she had been battling with for a while, of people not appreciating her as a parent and all that she did for her girls that were in my program. And so one of her daughters is our biggest success story thus far in 5 years. And so I definitely wanted to recognize her of being a mom, because I don't have kids, but I see and have been the product of a single parent and see how hard it can be, especially now with the different things that I didn't have to deal with as a kid that these kids have to go through. And then these parents having to do it on their own because we're losing more and more of our men to either gun violence or jail or just stupidity because they don't know how to be men because they didn't have a man to show them how to be a man. With all the odds stacked against them, I have sympathy for these women. And so I felt it was important to recognize them. But to know that she was in tears just from a text of knowing she was about to be recognized did my heart good, that I listened and I trusted him. So it feels good to know that first that I have the relationship with God to where I can hear him. Because a lot of us have relationships with people, but we hear what they're saying. We don't listen. There's a difference between hearing and listening. You can hear someone because you have 2 ears. So the sound is coming in. But when you're listening, that means that you're processing and registering and applying what they're saying to what it is you're doing. And a lot of us hear things, but we're not listening to it. And if you've ever had a conversation with me or sometimes seen me in a conversation with people, I know the difference. And so if you hear my response to something that someone says to me, if someone says something that's silly and asinine, my response is, I hear you. But if I am invested in what you're saying and I'm going to take from what you're saying and apply it in some form of fashion, you will hear me say I'm listening. It's a difference. And so I'm glad that I have a relationship with God to where I want to listen to what he tells me and then to be able to trust him and his word. Because like my pastor, Reverend Sharp, said today, to be able to have that relationship with him and him trust you enough to speak to you speaks volumes. So I am happy that I have that relationship with God to where I can listen to him and trust him, because I know that he's the same God then that saved me from foolishness, and he's the same God now that's going to save me then. Now, so I'm not concerned. I'm not worried. So I just wanted to put that out there to you all to set your New Year's goals and to come up with a theme, something that you're going to focus on for the year. Mine is listen and trust. And when you do it, make sure that you're doing it from your heart and not something that you feel you have to do. Again, I want to thank you all so much for listening and trusting me on this Underneath the Hat podcast. Make sure you check out my books. Just go to Amazon and type in my name, Cherie Simmons, and both of my books, Underneath the Hat, and It's That Size for a Reason, will pop up. And they're also available wherever books are sold. Make sure you subscribe and like on YouTube, Underneath the Hat podcast. Also, check us out on all of the podcast platforms: Anchor, Overcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, Breaker, and Pocket Cast. And when you check us out, don't forget to share and subscribe and like. If you want to sew into the podcast, we have Cash App, $ YLAAT 2017. Everything goes back to those girls. Or you can also Zelle us at, waiting on it to come up because I forgot what it was. Boom, Underneath the Hat at gmail.com. Again, I want to thank you all so much for supporting me. I appreciate you so much. And like I always say, remember to take care of yourself underneath the hat. Enjoy your week, and I will see you soon.